Hello, everyone. How are you? Hope you're having an incredible day, and may peace be upon you. Welcome to the show. It Takes Courage with me, your host, Dr. Izdihar Jamil. And today we have a really intentional and valuable topic, especially for women and also men. We are going to be talking about the three different milestones, the three important milestones that you want to create as you prepare winding up 2024 and preparing entering into 2025. And today I have an amazing guest who is Stephanie Mearse, who is the Vice President of Desert Capital Management Group, which is an investment and financial services. So, Stephanie, welcome.
Hello, welcome. Thank you so much for welcoming me, and I'm so happy to be on your show today. Thank you.
My pleasure. All right, Stephanie, let's get straight on and cracked on. What are the three most important or most valuable milestone that people want to create as they wind up 2024 and prepare for 2025?
Absolutely. So I really feel that the number one is building an emergency fund. So if you don't have a current emergency fund or a savings, it's super important to have that. Going into the new year, creating your new budget, creating your new creating having the opportunity to make sure that you are safe in that situation, in any situation. So the ultimate goal is to aim for for your funds to cover at least 3 to 6 months of living expenses. This is in order to safeguard in case something does happen. Our ultimate goal is that nothing does happen, of course, but these emergency funds are really just to make sure that you're going to be okay in the long run. This also makes it to where you don't have to worry so much about using any kind of credit cards or loans if something does come up. Now, it's not a guarantee. However, if you do have an emergency fund for that 3 to 6 months at least, then you're in a much better position because of that kind of base. Okay. The second one, in my opinion, is to become debt free or to have a minimized debt. So I'm sure you guys know the credit card annual rate of return, not return, but of the amount that you
Interest.
charge, the interest is really, really high. I mean, 25, 26% is most of them for the average person, right? So, and it can be much higher. I've actually seen it up to 30%. That is a lot to charge just to loan you some money essentially for a credit card. So I personally am a big fan of, and our company's big fan of pri- prioritizing your abilities to pay off the high interest debt specifically. Now, if it's a loan that's only like 2 or 3%, then that may be like a house loan, for example. That actually may be a more beneficial to you, especially with the world of the tax efficiencies, right? So we really feel that having the credit cards paid off or very, very low is really very helpful and beneficial to you. And it also raises your credit score as well to not have your credit cards completely full all the time. And then the last one is reaching for financial independency. So what we like to say is financial independency is beyond just having an emergency fund or paying off your debt. It is about growing what you currently have. So that's where investing comes in. So if you have your emergency fund ready to go and set up, and you're interested in starting to grow your money, then we highly recommend that you start your IRAs for tax efficiencies, or if you have a 401k at your work, absolutely being part of any of those are going to be very helpful to you in the long run. The main point of doing this is so you can be in the public markets, not be in mutual funds, stocks, bonds, whatever your 401k allows you to be in, or in an IRA. You can actually choose what you want to be in, whether it be mutual fund, stock, whatever's in the right risk tolerance level for you. And the biggest part of this is also knowing that this is like a long-term financial planning as well. So that will actually set you up for eventually, if you're doing it the right way, and if you consulted a financial person, they can genuinely take you from zero to, I don't know, say hero, but zero to financial freedom in the time frame that you may potentially want, which is very exciting.
Wonderful and straight to the point. I love it. So first is start to creating an emergency fund. I mean, I personally don't like the word emergency because it's kind of like the connotation associated with it. You can like just use a word that resonates with you, like a slush fund or like a happy fund, whatever that is that you want to use. But the point being is set aside a certain amount. But the thing is, Stephanie, people often like, at the end of the day, I haven't got much to put in, and there are times when we're left with almost zero, or sometimes it's a negative balance. So
Mhm.
let's talk about one action that people can start to do, because you talk about the slush funds. Also talk about the paying off the debt, and also creating a pot for wealth and investment and growth. So let's give them one simple actionable steps that the very least that they can start to focus, or start with this three things that they can start today.
Absolutely. So, um, honestly, there are some pretty great ways of tracking your spending now. So I'm sure you guys have seen some really great apps out there. I'm not going to mention any names, but there are some great daily habit apps that literally track what you spend. You can look at your accounts now online and see what you're spending. So recording every expense. So this is why I don't use a lot of cash anymore, too. So I love cash in the sense of cash is always king, right? Is what is known. However, being able to track, okay, so I spent $10 at Starbucks. Oh my gosh, and then I spent $30 at Chipotle. Oh, and I didn't, so knowing how much I'm spending on a daily basis really helps me to better understand how I can dwindle back some of the things that are not required, and maybe just instead of having Starbucks, having a coffee at home, or instead of having that Chipotle, having a lunch at home. It really does, that could make it to where you can just in one day save $40 if instead of having to eat away that $40, right? So, and it also helps your belly in the end, hopefully, right? So so tracking those daily habits are really going to help you get to that next level. I would say the next one is prioritizing savings and also that emergency or slush fund, and basically making sure that in your daily habits, you can actually set up an automatic transfer. So what a lot of people that I know that are in this kind of beginning stages, what they'll do is they'll actually take and have like a certain amount that goes out every week in an automatic savings transfer. Okay. And that amount usually is based off of like a very small amount, right? So for example, most people have $5 or $10 that they can do something with. Not everybody, but most people can. So they'll move that $5 or $10 over to that account. So even it's a slow but steady um, um, ability, right? But even that $5 or $10 in the end will make a difference, because the ultimate goal is to make it to where you are going to be financial free.
Yeah, I love that. I remembered when I was a student back in Bristol in England. So I learned about this kind of concept, financial wealth, and different accounts. I mean, on a student's budget, you haven't got much. But I remember, you know what, let me just set things up. I started off with actually £5 then, Stephanie. It wasn't much, but I set it up. And the first thing that I was told to do, which is often the hardest, is pay myself first. It's the hardest thing ever because when I look at the bills, I want to pay the bills first, but often the hardest is paying myself first.
Hmm.
So I was 20 years old. How many years old I was then? But setting up the automatically is the hardest thing because you're thinking it's not going to be enough. But once you set things up, £5, then to I think I had like the slush fund, I had like a charity, I had like financial FFA, which is investment. I had a couple of things. £5 on a student's budget, which is not no budget at all, kind of thing.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
when it does automatically, at when you just see the money, that's all you have, and your mind automatically kind of like recalibrates on the amount that you have for you to be intentional with your spending. And look, Stephanie isn't saying no more Chipotle, like none of that, no more Starbucks. You're not saying
Yeah.
that, but she is saying like every once in a while make a choice, whether it's Starbucks or Chipotle, or you're gonna make fried rice at home
Yeah.
and eat it at home. So let's touch base then, Stephanie, on the biggest mistake that people do, especially on the investment side of things, because that's often the last thing on people's mind. They think maybe like 10 more years to retirement, that's the time when they want to start with, let's put together a financial plan, let's put together a retirement plan. So what's the biggest mistake that you can see as people hits towards retirement? Because there's no way we can work forever, and you probably don't want to work forever.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's a really good point, honestly. A lot of people have a point in their mind as to when they want to retire. What I have noticed in my 13 years of doing this is people tend to retire sooner than they expect to, primarily either due to health reasons or due to other reasons, family reasons, or whatever that is. So a lot of people end up retiring sooner than they expect. So to have a financial plan in place, at least, I would say well in advance. So I personally started my financial plan at 29 years old. Now that's very young, and I get that 100% because that's I'm in this world, right? But the sooner that you can get a financial plan and started, the better, because the more that you can get set up for a potential earlier retirement, the better off you're going to be in the long run. Um, the reality on this though is it's also about the investments. So if you're putting in things that are in super high risk things like blockchains or whatever it is, it's the get rich quick type of thing. When you're looking at retirement specifically, that may bite you in a bad position here. It might put you in a bad position because that risk reward is very volatile, extremely volatile, actually. And so we highly recommend going into things that are more in the world of long-term investments. So going into stocks that are pretty well known and also very well known to just continue to rise, even with the short and long terms. Um, Knowing that bonds are usually a good safety net as a whole. However, depending on the interest rates, of course, because interest rates are inverse to the bonds. And then mutual funds are a great diversity tool. So one of the things that I really enjoy is making sure that that when you're in a mutual fund, you're seeing that kind of grow. It like nice and slowly grows. It's almost like the tortoise and the hare, right? So the tortoise just kind of slowly kind of hangs out and but continues to go forward, well as the hare kind of goes and it's a little more crazy, right? So our ultimate goal is in retirement is to let that tortoise and the hare work together to give you a financial freedom at the end of retirement.
That's great. Like speaking of tortoises, whenever I go pick up Nadra from school, my daughter, we would pass by this home, and then they have two pet tortoises, Digger and Tiptoe, like in the lawn, right? So they would kind of like walk so slowly, and then they would like they like to dig. I think they go on hibernation. They like to dig, but they would do it in a way that is elegant, but slow.
Mhm.
But it feels as if they're just enjoying their life, the way
Yeah.
they eat, the way they move, the way they dig. And for some reason, I can't take my eyes away from them. And my kids just love Tiptoe and Digger. They just love them. So I love that when you say, you want to be like the tortoise in terms of your investment. Enjoy the moment, enjoy the process, take one thing at a time. There is no rush, like you have time kind of thing.
Mhm.
But there's also a saying that says the best time is 20 years ago, but the next best time is right now. So, what Stephanie is saying is that rather than waiting, we want to make sure that at least start today, whether opening a Roth IRA or an IRA account, or just set aside a dedicated investment account, like Stephanie was saying, too, that is going to set things up automatically for you. And then as you figure things out, you may want to have a bit of mutual fund, a bit of bonds, a bit of stocks, like kind of mixing things up in the long run. So, Stephanie, we've touched base with a lot of a lot of things in terms of the three financial milestone slush funds or emergency funds. Make sure you pay off those credit card or high interest debt. And finally, investment. If possible, all three at the same time with small amounts,
Mhm.
and then also starting off early with whatever it is that you have to do, whether it's paying off debt or investment. Now, Stephanie, you're in a world of finance and wealth, and you are currently the vice president of Desert Capital Management, which is a financial and investment services.
Mhm.
So let's talk about how you
Mhm.
are able to be in this position, especially in the world that is mostly men dominated.
Yeah, so it is an interesting position to say the least. And quite frankly, when I first started, it was very intimidating. When I first, I'm just going to say it's been an interesting experience because my very first experience at a conference in the financial world, I was one of so it was 500 people, one of three women in the entire conference, and I was the only woman that looks like me. And so it was a very interesting experience to have everybody come up to me and say, "Hey, are you the secretary?" Nothing against being a secretary, but are you the? And I'm like, "No, I run the like I run the firm. Like I help. I just don't understand how there was such a huge bias, and it was a reality check for me. So we as a firm have really gone into another level of women empowerment at the same time. So we hire whoever's right for the job. So it's not about men or women. However, we have noticed that we tend to hire more women in this world because we want to educate and show women on how to grow their finances, but also that women could be in charge of this. And more importantly, what we're also noticing right now in this huge transition of life with the older generation is that a lot of the gentlemen, unfortunately, are starting to pass, and a lot of the wives are left in a position where they were never informed on how to do finances because their husbands had always done finance. And so the wives are in a really rough position because they don't understand how much money they have or how to invest it properly. So we're taking our women empowerment group of at the here at the firm and really helping these women who are in this new transition in their lives learn how to be financially independent in their 60s, 70s, 80s, and older. It's a very interesting time right now.
Yeah, it is, right? Like as women kind of having an understanding about, there were times when as women everything is being taken care of, which is fabulous. I love that kind of concept. I love that experience. But as where we are now, things are shifting. That we want to have that financial education, financial literacy. We want to have that financial awareness. Like it's just not as before, and it's obviously it's going to pay off in the long run in having understanding about all these things.
Hmm.
So Let's how did you get into this world of finance? Because numbers and math is usually kind of like a man's kind of thing. So how did you get into this world of finance? Was it something that you knew that you wanted to do when you were young because you love numbers, or was it something that you kind of jumped into organically, and how has it grown since?
Yeah, it's actually a funny story. So I actually went and interviewed with a gentleman at a firm 13 years ago, and it was the most fun interview I'd ever been in my entire life. It was 6 hours long, and we just talked and had a great time, and the energy was amazing. And I started working with him almost immediately, and he became my mentor. And he mentored me pretty quickly on finance and how we could be helpful to people and how we can make a difference in people's life. And what is the one of the biggest things that people struggle with other than health? It's usually finance, right? And so one of the things that I had learned at a really young age is that I love helping people. I love making a difference in people's lives. I didn't know it was going to be in finance per se, but I'm so grateful that this gentleman, my mentor, had pushed me in this direction of helping people and their finance, and honestly helping me get to new levels in my own personal life at the same exact time.
Great. So it's usually is like one person, right? That make you feel safe or heard, that you feel connected to, that you see the possibility when you play for something that is bigger for yourself.
Hmm.
What it would be possible if it's just if I can help this person, if I can do this, well, it's going to have this impact.
Yeah.
So often then, and you mentioned something that when you hire people, you don't hire just based on their resume, because sometimes things look good on paper. It really does. It looks perfect on the checklist.
Hmm.
But when you meet them, you see them, you energetically feel them, or you see their character, because character reveals quite a lot of things.
Hmm.
You start to see, oh, maybe they're not a good fit, or maybe this is like this, or maybe they're in better off in this position, but maybe not yet at the moment.
Yeah.
um, so which is interesting, right? When you kind of like have that connection
Hmm.
with someone. And I'm sure, Stephanie, over the years you've hired and let go quite a lot of people. So you start, even like for me, when I curate TEDx events or work with people on their book projects, you're like, huh, okay, this is on paper, but this is different. So we got to make that decision as
Yes.
the captain to who do I want in my teammate. And in that moment, Stephanie, you make a decision that this mentor is going to be part of your teammate. Like this, that is someone that you want to hang around with. And I'm assuming that's how clients would choose you, and that's how you choose clients, and vice versa.
Yeah, honestly, it's very much about the energies, the understanding. So actually, one of the things that I had learned through one of my coaching is um, understanding what your A client is, and understanding what you're looking for as a client. So it's not just who is interested in investing and then seeing whoever it is if they're a good fit. That's not usually the case, right? So, but if you have a checklist of like understanding, okay, so I want somebody who's going to be kind and supportive, who can communicate really well, who likes to refer out, and who can trust me and trust our firm. Those are I realize those A type clients are the ones that I tend to navigate toward, and not even on purpose. It's almost always like this energy that I can feel that, oh, this is a good person. This is gonna be a lifetime friendship and working relationship that I can feel. We're gonna help that person. It And then there's a lot of times where you can tell that they are not A type clients, they're B or C type clients. And I don't usually work with the C type clients. I only work with or we only work with the B and A's, primarily due to the energies, right? That person may be a wrong fit for our firm, but it may be a perfect fit for a different person's firm. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. Oh,
Hi, Stephanie. I think I should be back. Okay. Yes. So that is so great. It's not just a matter of, hey, you want to invest? Sure. How much money do you have in your bank account? Yep, you're in kind of thing. It's usually is more than that. Okay. So let's wrap up our interview, Stephanie, of kind of like, in a way, what made you who you were? I know we were talking backstage a little while ago that, at one point of your life, you were homeless, and then it was kind of the starting point of when everything changed. So let's give people a run through of what led you to be who you are now and where you are now, and, in about a minute or so.
No problem. So as a child, I was raised by two drug addicted parents, very abusive in every manner of the word, and I was in a really rough position as a child. We were homeless. We lived with drug dealers, the whole nine yards. At 7.5 years old, I testified against my mother in court and got adopted by my aunt and uncle. I decided at a very young age that I didn't want that life. That's not the life that was for me. And it was all due to a Hallmark movie, a Christmas Hallmark movie, because everything's perfect. I said, that's the life that I want right there. So essentially what I did was I said, I want to be, I became adopted immediately with my sister. And at a very young age, I wanted to be educated. I wanted to have more than enough money so I could never be on the streets again. And I wanted to have a family. I wanted to have that normal life. And it's amazing how when you put your mind to something at such a young age and you really stick to it, how that dream becomes very much a reality.
Yeah, that is so, such a experience, right? In a way that it kind of taught you a lot of things, what you want, what you don't want, and kind of lead you to a certain direction. And who would have thought that Hallmark movie? Oh my God, at one point I would be so obsessed about that Hallmark movie, which is The Time Is Coming Now.
It's coming.
Yeah, it is. I know it is October, but the time is coming for Hallmark. Usually it's like end of November, December kind of thing, but everything starts early now. Even Christmas trees are being, put up now.
Yeah.
But that decision or that vision of what's possible is kind of what triggered you to making the action of you are and being who you are and moving forward in that direction that you have. So sometimes I feel, Stephanie, that God speaks to us in various different ways. I sometimes got my answer by reading my kids' storybook during bedtime. There was a point when, things were really tough, and you know, I feel like I'm being pushed in the corner. I feel like there was no doors, there was no window. But as I was reading that storybook that my kids chose, and my kids chose that story, and then there was this line, I was like, oh my God, like there is, I feel like God is guiding me. In your case, like a vision was shown to you from that Hallmark movie. So, what I'm trying to say is that be open to the signs that is around you. It can be in a Taylor Swift song, for all you know, right? It can be in a Hallmark
True.
movie. It can be in a storybook. It can be on that bus, or like sometimes fortune cookies are hit and miss. Sometimes they don't even know, those kind of things. But, be open to what's possible, right, Stephanie?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Brilliant. Okay, Stephanie, let's wrap up with fill in the blanks. Financial freedom is when. What is your take on that?
You're free to, when you're free of the fears of not having enough money.
Yeah, like it's not going to be enough, but everything is enough, and in fact you have more than enough.
Yep.
So thank you so much, Stephanie, for being here today and sharing your tips and wisdom on the three key milestones that you want to have in preparation for 2025, as well as avoiding the biggest mistake, and how what kind of decision that you can make going forward, whether it's in life or in finances. So everybody, thank you so much for watching. This is It Takes Courage with me, your host, Dr. Izdihar Jamil. And remember, be brave and bold, because life is full of possibilities. Take care. May peace be upon you. And I'll see you in the next episode. Let's say bye, Stephanie.
Bye. Thank you.